Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Jeremy, and this is Mira, and we are from Bloomberg Graphics. And today we're going to be talking about how to make beautiful maps for any screen. Very exciting stuff. Okay. And this is my second time here, and this is Mira's first time. And we are very nervous, so be very gentle with us, please. Okay, so we are here representing a bunch of larger team of designers, developers, and data journalists, and shown here as their spirit emojis. And aside from Mira and I, our colleagues Hannah, Haley, and Sam are also here. Shout out to them, love you. And so please say hi based on this very accurate image of them. So if you see them, say hi. All right.
So Bloomberg has been around for about 6 years, not the whole organization, just the graphics team. And it's evolved from this scrappy small team of wayward youths making these big interactive tools. And now we're a much larger team that works pretty closely with the newsroom to build and pitch our own visual stories. And our little corner of cartography is really just designing maps for news. So this means we have different considerations a lot of the time than other types of reference mapping or online mapping tools. To sort of oversimplify it, I sort of think of more reference maps as finding your own path through something, whereas news maps, we're sort of telling you to take this path that we've reported out extensively and boil down to some insights for the readers. I actually have this sort of weird rule when I'm editing that graphics should be made in a way where you can summarize things in just a sentence or two. So that just means that they need to serve a purpose in the narrative, and sort of talking that out helps. Another way to put it, to really badly paraphrase a great Amanda Cox talk, is that we want to have visual interest to really draw the readers in with a and then other design elements to point them towards the takeaway of ooh. So for example, these are maps from a few years ago about Amazon same-day delivery zones, shown here in this transparent gray, with population dot map broken down by race below. So at first it's a lot to take in, but I feel like a pattern slowly emerges, specifically that the Amazon delivery zones tend to be in majority white neighborhoods. Then the graphics to the right sort of simplify and reinforce this point with more specific views and summary stats. Because a lot can happen in the act of interpretation, and as journalists, it's our responsibility to distill all that information into clear insights. Bandwidth is limited, so data bandwidth for sure. We can solve for that by serving different image sizes, using tools like AI to HTML, lazy loading files, but also attention bandwidth. To sort of design for that, news maps, and maybe in particular Bloomberg maps, tend to have this really high contrast and information hierarchy. So high contrast, you can't see the layers below here on the screen. So, for example, this map of Hong Kong protests, the top level information is really bold and bright. Below this, very faded back, you have just building layers that provide just enough detail to orient the readers. News designers are also obsessed with the annotation layer. So it's something we quite literally just point to a piece of the graphic and say, this is important and here's why. And we're also quite comfortable using some more unusual layouts and projections to serve the purposes of a story. So in this case, the equidistant projection really warps the outer edges, but it's there to convey the North Korean missile ranges, which are at the heart of the story. So trying to figure out what works at so many different sizes poses additional challenges, right? I spend way too much time thinking about these snakes, basically. We might do things like change the orientation. North doesn't always have to point up, which I think was a topic at last year's NACIS. And yeah, I know these days we really just have to design for desktop, laptops, tablets, mobile, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, sadly, mobile apps, Apple News, where nothing is fun, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok maybe. This is like getting into territory where I'm too old to understand things. And we've picked up a few techniques along the way that really help make our work a bit more fun on all these platforms.
Oh, my turn. Okay, now we're gonna be talking about animation. And sometimes, honestly, at Bloomberg, we make a lot of GIFs because sometimes the old ways are the best. Because images and animated GIFs travel really well on social, and you can post GIFs as like a native post on most platforms, and Apple News as well, and most screens and resolution. And that's why we use a lot of GIFs. And if you really think about it, GIFs are pretty similar to small multiples, where multiple graphics can work as efficient and convincing summaries of data, making the same point again and again and again, by offering complementary variations of one major thing. So this is a visual story about how climate change poses a huge threat to Amtrak and how we are all gonna die. And it's especially effective. GIFs are especially effective when you lock a view and have some small changes in the graphics to reinforce an impression. However, it's worth to know that when you have too many frames, reader generally would only remember the first and the last frame because we don't have awesome visual memories. And therefore, visual changes in each frame has to be clearly visible and obvious. And this is extra important when you are viewing it on like a very tiny phone.
So something else we know and love dearly is scrolly telling. This is a map about how America uses its land. So the illustrious Mike Bostock, basically, chances are you're already scrolling anyways, right? Like everyone knows how to do it. What we call scrolly telling is really just a way to piggyback on that reading process and add visual layers and animation on top. I'm just gonna wait a little bit because it's really cute. In just 1 second.
Come on.
Come on.
It's not cute yet. It's gonna be cute.
It gets cuter.
It gets cuter. Trust me.
Wait, wait for it. They're SVG cherry blossoms. It's gonna get cute. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's coming. Ooh.
Thank you. That's what we were looking for.
So it lets the reader have fairly fine-tuned control over the speed of information. In this case, countdown to nuclear apocalypse. And when you're scrolly telling, it's ideal, similar with animated GIFs, if the slides share some kind of information. So we typically lock the frame and let geographic patterns emerge. For example, two things happening next to each other that might be problematic. In this case, nuclear power plants that aren't super up to code next to projected chronic flooding, or how fires are happening in areas where deforestation has occurred and the role of protected lands sort of mitigating that risk. Oh, well. So it allows you to sort of slowly build your case layer by layer. Can I press play? Oh. Okay, here we go. And here we see 3M plants, then 3M disposal sites near water wells in the river, then a chemical plume, and finally higher risk of cancer rates in surrounding areas.
Hovering, and we do a lot of hovering over. And this is great when you want to display additional and secondary information. And because certain readers are really looking for more details, AKA nerds like me. So here's a global, is it not playing? Oh, is it playing?
It's playing.
Okay, sorry, I'm being crazy. Okay, so here's a global depth map and with tooltips showing additional information and visual. And however, obviously this is not the most organic way to navigate a graphic on a small device because hover over often turned into clicking on mobile, and nobody has baby fingers to do so. It's very annoying if you have to like, enlarge everything and then click, 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 click. It's very annoying. So it's important not to hide your most important information inside a tooltip. And here is a very cool visual project about southern border. And you can see the bottom part, there's like satellite images, and we have like a reference maps, then they correspond. Very cool on desktop. But initially on mobile, you have to like click through everything, and that's highly annoying. So sometimes we use swipe to replace hover on mobile because everybody loves Tinder. And here's what you can see. So like on mobile, oh, I have to play, okay. So on mobile, it becomes swipes instead of just clicking through a graphic. So that's like, hey, Tinder technology, we love you. Another nice way to both signaling the readers that there are tooltips and also showing them the context without any extra effort is through animation. So basically, it just loops through each tooltips and like show people what's in there. And zoom and pan. And zooming and panning is obviously a lot of work for readers to do, and it takes reader out of a linear narrative, but it also gives people an opportunity to explore a lot of information, and most importantly, find yourself in the data set. So in this case, this is a FEMA flood maps, and the story was really about this government program that lacked the resources to keep American and their insurances up to date. And we wanted to give reader a quick takeaway, but also provide a little bit of a public service for them to find themselves in the data. And here's another project. We also use Sleepy Maps. In combination of other tools, you can actually, okay, so yeah, like it's like this because the contrast situation. So we try to also have a clear visual cue on the right, showing people that, hey, you can interact with it. And stabbers, as well, are effective when it comes to linear storytellings, although it's less popular nowadays because, again, we are asking readers a lot of work. And by animating a stabber, we can offer a sit back and watch experience. So without the reader having to do a lot of work, they can also take over at any point. So it's very cool if you have like fancy animations in between because, we are asking readers to actively engage in order to interpret the graphics, so the payoff has to be big. And animation is just a form of payoff. And we also offer like alternative ways for panning. For example, we have like a drop-down menu, and readers can like just drop through states and locations.
So that's pretty much it. Those are just a few of our tricks. And you see how we sort of mix and match them, really remix things to make things work. Also, just a quick note, we are growing our team a little bit next year, so if any of it interested you or you thought it was awful but it could be made much better, please get in touch. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think we have time for one question as David, our next presenter, sets up. Any questions from the audience?
Oh my God. For the swipey, did you just actually use a standard carousel and chop up your images, or was that a custom sort of slippy, I guess it's not slippy, some cross between a slippy interaction and a swipe carousel?
You also
right,
made
okay.
it. You go first, I'll go second.
Jeremy built that, so he's being shy.
Oh my God. Yes. The answer is yes. So it was like a bunch of satellite images, and we chopped them, right? And then we made like a SVG layer to sit on top of it as like a fake Voronoi. So we use that to interact, and obviously the swipey thing was just done with JavaScript. Yeah.